What is an adult problem that nobody prepared you for? Careers. As a kid you hear what do you want to do when you grow up? And it's always nurse, doctor, fireman, game designer etc. Which is all so simple, but then when you do start training/working in that career and you realize you don't like it, it just feels like such a terrifying thing to now have to think of a new career identity. I'm pretty sure most of us spend a lot of time working through the scrap, my career isn't viable, what do I do? And come to the conclusion that yeah, it actually does make you more sane working in a shop or whatever, than going home at night having paid the bills and not stressing. It's the realization that really takes time. The incessant flow of bills, phone, water, electricity, insurance, rent, mortgage also, college debt, oh, and dental care. Kurt Vonnegut had it right when he said the trouble with getting older is you outlive your teeth. How much time you spend just doing stuff, oh need to replace my tire and that's over by the store. So while I replace the tire I can do some errands and I'll save time and be home in no time. 3 hours later okay just one more errand before I head home. Also how putting off a small task just a couple days in a row can quickly amount to a longer chore, responsibility later. I can just leave this in the sink, get to it later before bed. Next 2 days why is this crime caked onto this plate still? I've been scrubbing for 10 minutes straight. A lack of community. Growing up you have your elementary school. Each day you see your friends and participate in activities together. Sometimes they move away and sometimes they do, but it largely stays the same through high school and middle school. Flash forward to adulthood and you're just alone. You want to make friends IRL, but have no idea how to go about doing it without seeming creepy, desperate, or God knows what. This is really hard when you are not overtly religious, so you cannot join a religious community. My friend and I talk about this from time to time. It's arguably the hardest thing to deal with in life. It gets worse the longer you live, as you know you are outliving your generation. The endless cleaning. I had chores when I was a kid, but I had zero clue how much actual work went into keeping house. I cleaned my house this morning and by midweek it'll be a ward soon of pet hair, crumbs, and dust. I don't even have kids. WTF, it's like the underpants gnomes show up when I'm asleep and fuck my house up. Making important life decisions. When you're young you have a safety net, but when you're an adult you're taking on risk that can influence successive years of your life. Same goes for single versus family. Edit, thank you for the silver. Basic home maintenance. When to change air filters, smoke alarm batteries, timing of lawn care. How often do you clean the gutters? Are you supposed to clean under the stove? What is edging? How do you recycle? How to change locks, etc. The existential horror of being in a dead-end job with a horrible boss but can't afford to quit because you'll starve. Edit, whoa, just so you know guys, I'm better now. I left the job I didn't like and I enjoy my work now. Also, as some of you suggested, I've been doing my master's concurrently. I'm working towards my dream job in the university. Being sick and having to care for yourself, like when you were younger your parents would get the medicine, or the medicine cabinet would just be stocked all the time, etc. But here I am with a cold having to build up the energy to go to the supermarket to buy some aspirin and throat lozenges all by myself. The mental load of remembering everything that needs to be done, and project managing it all, house repairs, improvements, finances, cleaning, laundry, bills, hiring people to do things, trips to the vet for vaccines, groceries, car maintenance, and the list goes on. It takes up too much room in my head. The death of the elder family and a rising name on that list. I was just ruminating earlier today with my station. It feels like I was 20 just yesterday, but then suddenly I have an adult daughter. I've buried grandparents and a parent, and now more voices turn to me than I can turn to myself. How uneducated people are, like, the complete lack of reasoning and critical thinking is astonishing. You can't even have a proper conversation with some people because they make up their minds and the conversation is over. Fearing getting sick and not having enough sick days, causing me to lose my job and the insurance that would have helped me get better from being sick, and related, wondering why I lose so much of my paycheck to health insurance but then having to pay out of pocket and never hitting the maximum where my insurance actually pays anything. The number of decisions I have to make. As a kid, you never have a lot of choice in what's for dinner, what to do on the weekend, where you live, your household income, what to do when your vehicle makes a funny noise, etc. Now that I have to look after all those things, I just wish someone would come along and tell me what to do half the time. The isolation of being a single dad. Single parents don't have a fallback, someone to carry the load for a couple minutes while you decompress and jump back in the fray. When you're one deep, there is no break. When you're not at work, you're at home. There is no going out, getting away, dating or adult time. I'm rural and don't have family or a sitter for my boys, so it's all on me. Worry. Are the kids okay? Their grades, job, mental health, can we make that bill this month? Is the dog getting sick? Is that a lump I should worry about? Is mom recovering from her fall? Did I remember to send flowers for the Mill's birthday? It never ends. Mental health disorders and productivity. I spent my whole HS and uni years doing my bare minimum to have a good curriculum and then discovered that my shitty time habits won't work in adulthood. I have posted this before, but I was not prepared for making the sensible right decision my whole life and still have everything fall apart. Lost my job, husband left, became a single parent, had major surgery, entered a pandemic, and had all 3 of my kids develop significant mental health issues. The fact it's all a facade. Adults aren't really more mature than most teenagers or 20-somethings in their early years. They just have more responsibilities to tend to and can't indulge in all the stupid shit they used to. Sure, some grow out of hobbies or interests, but for every person who acts super mature, I know people who just are basically responsible 15-year-olds. My dad sure was one. Some folks seem to have had a nerve struck by this one, and it by no means is meant to be insulting. We all have different personalities. Sure, you might grow and change as you get older, but let's not pretend that there aren't adults out there who still love kids' shows, comic books, playing with toys with their children, or who never grew up, and inversely that there were kids who worked 2 jobs and went to school and raised their brothers and sisters. I'm simply stating that I think the difference in maturity you're expected to see as you grow up is a falsehood people profess because no one really knows how to explain adulthood and growing up and sacrificing time and interests for survivability or necessity. Being seriously sick and having to care for and comfort yourself. I'm currently huddled under 4 blankets fighting hot flashes and cramps from food poisoning and chills plus Axe post-COVID shot. All I freaking want is my mama to give me hot tea, turn on Rocco's Modern Life, and paint my back until I pass out and sleep through it. The problem is I am a mother in my mid-30s, and my mother is a nearly 70-year-old little old granny who lives 2 states away. I miss my mom, guys. You go to a beach fire with folks, and all the normal things that beach fires need aren't there. Marshmallows, kindling, firewood, comfy chairs, blankets, napkins, ketchup and mustard, cutlery, a guitar and someone to play it, even a cooler for the beer. No, the only thing anyone remembered to bring is a 2-4 of Lucky. Suddenly you realize, you're the only one who thought to bring that stuff. You're the adult. It's your job to create the party now. Stupid people are everywhere. As kids we are taught, in everything, books, movies, cartoons, whatever. It's good versus evil. Almost every story, small or large, there are good people and there are bad people. As you get older you learn there are gray areas to that, shades of good and bad. One thing I have learned in the last 10 years or so is how many stupid people are out there, and that some of what could be seen as evil or bad isn't someone being a villain, they might just be fucking dumb. You know that saying there's always one in a crowd? I'm starting to see it's more like there's always about a third in a crowd. Finding new friends. I got lucky when I moved to where I am now and managed to make a tight-knit group of friends outside of work that I have a lot in common with, but it seems like this becomes extremely hard after 30 or so. In my previous position in a different state, all my interactions were with coworkers because they're the only ones I saw regularly enough to get to know. Those types of friendships are almost always superficial though. The conversation almost always comes back around to bitching about work, and since workplace is really the only thing you have in common, they die out if you take a new job or move. Sleeping. My god, I never thought sleeping would be a problem for me, but here I am scared to try and sleep in fear of laying awake for hours, letting my head create terrible thoughts and make my anxiety spike. Next thing you know, I'm having a panic attack at 2 a.m. and I have to up at 5 for work. Pants. When you're a kid, you don't wear out clothes, because in 6 months, you've outgrown them. That slows down by the end of high school, and there's this weird transitory period where you slowly discover that you've worn out that really comfortable pair of jeans and have to replace them. And no, holding on for a little longer just isn't an option. How to deal with being the executor of an estate, especially with outstanding decisions that haven't been made about assets. In addition to being on the cusp of losing my remaining parent, I'm bracing for a complete shit show afterward. I can't even get advice from the estate lawyers cause all they want to do is take the reins and gouge us for more legal fees. Uncertainty. When you are a schoolboy, life is easy. Everything you have to do is studying. Then you go to college and it's almost the same that the schooling is. After that you look for a job and making family. But what after all these stuff? And here uncertainty starts. Car-related issues. I waited a really long time to drive, so by the time I was an adult I didn't know hardly anything about cars except what my dad taught me in previous years. I bought a cash car with a lot of problems. I had to replace the brakes, rotors, axles and a seat blower, and every person I talked to seemed like they already knew about this kind of stuff. Normal housing becoming a luxury and designed for two people to split the bills. How is this normal? People used to live in households where the wife didn't work and raised 3 kids on a single income. I make $50,000 a year and can't afford to live on my own. The adult problems that you can't be prepared for. Committing your sister to a mental hospital. Choosing to respect your mother's do not resuscitate when she stops breathing, and the lazy boy watching Price is Right. Leaving your sibling in the homeless situation they've chosen because you've run out of options to try and help them and are now just hurting yourself. Becoming the financial anchor of your family because your father has been convicted of federal charges and is going to be in prison for 20 years. Life is real, and it will find you. No matter who you are, your parents get old. People get sick. You end up becoming the decider of things no human should be burdened with. Buying a house. I didn't realize how hard it would actually be. Also, I didn't realize I'd have to pay someone to inspect it to make sure it's safe and up to code. So many people lie about crap on their house. I had one I was looking at where if I had bought it, what would have been my daughter's bathroom, the tub would have fallen through BC. The beams supporting it were rotted. The never-ending cleaning. I feel like I'm just cleaning all the time in the house. It's still the same level of dirty, or it looks really nice for maybe a couple hours. Then meal time comes around, or I spend some time on the couch. I'm not even doing anything. How do I need to vacuum again already? ? And bam, it's a goddamn mess again. Mental health struggles. I think this is better nowadays, but no one taught me how to care for my mental health. The military had trainings that taught us signs of when a shipmate might be considering suicide, but no one actually tells you what you should do when you are approaching that point. One for me is that I was never prepared for the transition when my own kids moved out. Then moved across the country for grad school. Suddenly I didn't know what to do with myself, as I wasn't running the kids here or there or to this event or conference, concert, game, friend's house, etc. I had wondered if my parents felt that way when I moved out. They didn't. I finally got back into hobbies and found some new ones as well. Anyone else experience this, or not experience it? The sheer amount of mental illness that comes after hanging around horrible people and having a toxic job for years. I am in a much better place now with the job I have worked the last 2 years, except I destroyed myself physically, and now my 80-plus-year-old mother walks better than I do. That when you are shopping for homes in the US, you should check if the area you plan on living/raising kids in is a Superfund site. Superfund sites are locations in the US where there are high levels of contaminants that cause health problems. I bought a house in the middle of a Superfund site for lead. Cue me getting told my 1-year-old has high levels of lead in his blood. Not over the threshold yet, and I need to do a lot extra cleaning to try and minimize his exposure. Watching your parents slowly deteriorating with dementia, cleaning up after them every time they go to the bathroom, watching them forget how to eat, sit down, basics. It gives you a lot of time to think about what's important in life. Lots of time to prepare for their final days, yet things could be worse. My dad still knows who I am, and he smiles at my baby nephew, but it's only downhill from here. It's easier to accept that as reality now. I know his death will be somewhat of a relief, especially for my mother. I'd rather have it this way than painful cancer or a sudden heart attack. Every day is a gift. Dementia is fascinating, terrifying, numbing, and mind-boggling. How many people don't care about doing their job properly? It doesn't matter what job I've had in my life, I've always taken it seriously and trying my best. I've been in my career for 15 years, and there's only a select few that I've come across that work really hard and are amazing at what they do. It makes me wonder how things actually get done, and thinking how many things are likely not done properly because of it. Actually having the means of staying mentally afloat enough to function by yourself. I mean, like, as a teenager I can just shut down for a day or two because everything else around me is taken care of and I don't have that many responsibilities. Now that I'm becoming an adult in 4 months and I'm doing all that college stuff, I realize how I literally can't shut down for a day or two simply because there are deadlines that can't be put off. Also, the amount of money that everything costs is fucking bullshit. That high school drama, mean girls, bullies, fights, pressuring, jealousy, shit-talking, etc. don't just disappear once you're an adult. Oh, it's still there. It's just low-key worse now because it's 30-year-olds who now have a much better understanding of manipulation, power dynamics, and are much better at lying, victimizing themselves. And it's terrifying to know 50+ age isn't free either. The stupid drama my mom's friends complain to her about is wild, and the same with the older people I've gotten to know at various jobs. It's literally middle high school again, but everyone has a house and kids and copious amounts of wine, and it never ends. There is no downtime. It's work, or kids, or working on the house. I get 15 minutes around lunch, maybe an hour after I get the last kid to bed, and I can barely keep my eyes open. I have 5 minutes right now before I have to start dinner, and then everything is on rails through 8:30 p.m. There's no recharging batteries, No point to any of this. A good day is basically just a day that isn't bad, no highlights, we just go through the motions every day.